Hey guys, welcome back. We got another. Oops, I'm losing my setup here. Um, Dang it. We got another interesting project here today. This one was sent in pieces. It's a old Hamilton Beach malt mixer, as you can tell, and this is, I believe, a model 25. Yeah, number 25 model. Definitely needs some work. You can see brush cap is missing. On both sides there, but the biggest thing is the bracket that holds on. You can tell is just a pot metal. Well, it's completely disintegrated. There is other parts of it that came in the box. So cord is apparently everything's been cut up here. The cord down here is completely shot. So this one definitely needs some work on it. To turn the motor over by hand, it feels awfully tight. I mean, really tight. I bet you this thing would just hum. So we'll have to take it apart and take a look at all that too. And also, apparently the story from this was sent in by Arthur, and Alright, I'm going to tell you guys a story on this because it's an interesting story. Arthur sent this in. He left a note with the story, and he says his grandparents ran a cafe next to the railroad depot in his hometown. His grandfather was a railroad engineer, and he worked at a cafe when the trains slowed down, when there wasn't as many trains going through. He ended up getting a job at the cafe, and Arthur ended up inheriting this mixer and a drinking straw container. And he said it worked till about 1972, and his wife accidentally knocked it over, and that's when the bracket broke on it. And he's been looking off and on for a bracket ever since. But I think just from sitting since 1972, also, you can tell it's gotten pretty seized up and stuff. So we're going to give this thing a full, complete restoration here. There's little parts of this metal just falling out everywhere. So we're going to take this entire thing apart and give this a complete restoration there. Looking at the coating on here, this is actually, it looks in really good shape, just really dirty. If anything, that's just dirt on there too. So yeah, fortunately, the enamel, or the oh God, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called. It's over cast iron. It's basically melted glass to give it this jadeite color. Porcelain. This porcelain enamel, I can't believe I got that. This porcelain enamel looks to be in excellent shape, just a little dirty on here. So that should clean up really, really nice. And I think we can polish up a lot of this metal on here. I do see a little bit of corrosion and pitting, but we'll see what we can do with that. But the main thing is, I want to look through the parts in this bag here, and we've got a couple parts here. This looks like a bracket, but I don't believe it's the actual bracket that goes on here. This is probably for a different model, and it's not as thick as that one. This one's made to stand off on here about good 3/4 of an inch. This bracket is also in here too, and there's not enough pieces left of this old bracket to really compare it to anything, but this looks like this might be a comparable bracket for that. So what we'll do is we'll take this old one off for starters, just to see, because I may still have to look for a bracket if this one doesn't work. But we're going to take this old bracket off of here and see if that new bracket will work on it. If not, then I'm going to have to make some calls and get a hold of some people and see if I can locate a bracket for this one. And I get a feeling it's in the bag for a reason. I think he purchased it. It must not have worked. And yeah, you can see the problem right there. If I line up the holes there, this is off-centered, and that hole doesn't line up at all. So this bracket does not work either. So I'm on a hunt for a bracket now. And this bracket obviously won't work either. I don't know Yeah, the holes don't quite line up on that one either. So I'll make some phone calls and I will find a bracket for this. I want to put the stand aside for now. I want to see what else is down in here. There's all kinds of little parts in this bag. Looks like some for wiring. There's a trim ring, which I imagine, well, it's got a clip on it. So I'm not really sure. Well, that's why I'm going to have to look up a parts diagram for this to see what all this is. This was obviously part of the bracket, and I believe this may have gone in here, like that. This ring with the clip, I'm not sure. This little standoff here, I don't know where that went. And I got 3 little screws and, like I said, this thing here. So I'm going to have to look up, I'm going to have to look up a parts diagram and try and get all my parts situated for that. So I'll look on here now, and it doesn't look like this mixing foot unscrews from there. It looks like it's basically riveted to this shaft here. So, and it's got a big collar on it here, so I'm not sure how this all comes apart either. But let me get these brush holders out of here. And I'm pretty sure this would have had caps that covered it, but then again, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe it didn't. Okay, it's got a round brush in it, and the brush looks to be decent length. That one looks a lot shorter, so we're going to get new brushes ordered up for this. Let's see where we're at here. This looks like it might be an oil wick in here. Yeah, it has an oil wick down in there. Deal with this shaft here. I don't know. Let me see if I can get this apart here. Not sure if this will come right apart this way or if there's more to it. You know, if I got to take the shaft apart. It's got bearings pressed in it. I will end up looking up a diagram for this. But while I've got it here, I want to just try to take a look at it. There's still parts of that thing falling out of there. Okay, so I can at least separate these two halves here. And the armature doesn't look like it's got wear. There's no bearing on the top. There's just a light bushing in there. That's probably got a wick in it. So we can at least get that apart and get that out of there and cleaned up. And looking at this, I'm not really sure if this is all part of that shaft, because if you look at the shaft on here, the shaft is awful small and then this part's awful big. Okay, so there's something interesting. I can grab this whole entire shaft and turn it without turning the armature. Does it just unthread? Nope, it just pulls right out. Look at that. So that just pulled right out of there. Okay, so that's also interesting. So now, I'm wondering if this is just threaded to that. There's a couple screws in here that hold another bushing in down here, but I can't get to those either. So that tells me this armature does come off of here. If I can just figure out how. anything, but yet there's a bushing in here. It just gets oiled through these little oil holes, and it looks like it's actually string again that goes in there and wraps around the bushing. So we'll replace that with felt. All right, managed to figure that out. It was basically just pressed onto there. So I just heated this up here and set this on. Oh, I've got a 2x4 with a hole in it that this fits through, and just set that on there and just tapped it through, and it separated it. So a little easier than I was thinking, but I'm glad we got it. Now we'll have to just take this all apart here. And we get our bushing out of here, get this all cleaned up. This whole thing is, got carbon in it, old oil, and all that. And we know that this bushing is bone dry, but it's probably gummed up with crap too. So this is actually a fairly simple machine. It doesn't seem nearly as complicated as like the Model 30s and some of the other ones. The only thing is I cannot find a parts diagram online for this or anything to help me out. So looks like I'm going to be winging it on this one. There we go. All right, so there's our bushing, and you can see it's got the string just wrapped around it. I think it wrapped around it, and then they just wadded it into that hole there. So I think we're going to end up taking that off, and we're just going to replace that with some felt. There is a line of it in here somewhere. Let's see if I can see. I think it goes in there, and it runs down a slit in here just to keep that lubricated. So we'll probably leave that part there, and then just get felt on the outside of this here. And of course this will have to be all cleaned out inside here. There's all kinds of crud in there, and it's bone dry, so it's no surprise. And you can see all the carbon built up on that. I'll have to see how well this cleans off. Alright, so now this looks like, basically it doesn't look any different than like a lot of the mixers. I mean, they got the exact same brush holder clips on there, and I don't see really anything else all that fancy on here. I mean, I don't even see a switch on here. Alright, there's a switch, a cup switch, but this must be a single speed. Yeah, this must just be a single speed malt mixer here, because I don't see a speed selector switch. So I'm assuming the 25s were single speed. Just pop the cup in and go. So we'll have to take all that apart there too, take a look at the switch. We'll have to clean up every screw and everything in here. It's kind of a weird way to attach it, just these tiny little screws, but I guess the whole housing holds everything together. So it should come right out now. Aside from, we got to get our tabs cleared here. The contacts there. Alright, we'll clean this up really good and test it just to make sure it's still good. Brush holders, I don't think we need to take those out, but we will take this out. We'll clean this, take this plate out here, we'll clean this bushing up good, and we may end up doing the same thing, replacing, stringing it with felt, just because the string is probably dry and then it starts to deteriorate and turn to crap. Alright, so there was really not much to this motor at all. I mean, you see this screw right here is rusty, so we're going to have to get that cleaned up. We're going to have to do something with this label. It looks all corroded on there. So we'll see what we can do with this. The hardest part, I think, is going to be locating the bracket that we need. So like I said, I'll ask around, I'll look around, see what I can find. And this, I believe, if I was to try to date this, I would say this is probably late 20s into the early 30s. So there's not really a lot of parts to keep track of on here. This I'm still not sure. I believe this didn't even go with it. I think this may have come with another bracket, one of the other brackets that he purchased. I believe this originally went to it. And that would go in here. Because I don't know that this screw's in the correct spot either. This is a mystery right now. So let's dig deeper. Trying to piece together something that I have no idea what it looked like to begin with. Alright, and that's just the cover for the cup switch. So you can see there's a cup switch right there. Alright, I'm going to get rid of this cord here because it's going to get in the way and just drop crud everywhere. It's disintegrating just by looking at it. Toss that aside. Okay, so looking up inside of here, I pulled the cord out the back. The feet are obviously shot, but they're screwed on, so that's typical. It looks like there's a metal lever, and the cup rest on here threads into it, and once that's out, the switch assembly should pull out of there, along with the wires. All this should pull right down through. So let's give that a shot. Alright, so the cup rest is off. Really nothing else attaching it, so should be able to just fish all this whole assembly right on out of here. If anything, I think maybe the switch here is going to hold it up a bit. Especially since I think these wires probably run behind it. Yeah, this is going to be the tough part. Get this switch lever here to clear. Okay, so the cord is what's up behind it. I know you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm just trying to finagle this thing in a way where it's going to fit out. Useless. Trying to see if I can rotate it past the cord. Oh, almost got it rotated there. I think the cord is what's really holding it up here. And I gotta be careful with the surface on here too, because this porcelain does chip. There we go. Alright. There's the switch assembly right there. And you can see basically all it does, these 2 points right here, and then there's a brass piece here. They make contact when a cup goes up and completes the circuit. So one of these of course goes all the way up to the motor, and then the other cord connection comes here to that one nub right there, and then it comes off of that nub up to off of this nub here up to the motor. So when a switch engages, it closes that circuit right there. And this whole thing looks like a piece of brass, so we'll have to get this all cleaned up really good too. Obviously replace this wire. Alright, so that's about as far as I can go right now. I mean, I can take out the other bushing and stuff and start polishing stuff up, but I do got to find a bracket yet, because these 2 brackets here aren't right. And I do got to find out if this even goes to this machine. I have no idea what this is. Something locks in there, but I have no idea what. And this, I have no idea if this is, you know, does this go on here? Where does this go? I'm assuming that this is what makes contact with these contacts on here. I'm just not sure, you know, how does it all attach on here, because if this held the bracket, where would this have gone? It's like a puzzle. I'm okay with that. Alright, so that looks like it does fit there, but then once that's in here, doesn't exactly fit under there. And honestly, I think just the bracket mounted right up to here. So how does this fit into there? I guess I need a bracket, you know, for sure. Okay, I just sort of figured it out. Of course, this is this is completely wrong, but I think on the bracket that goes with this, this must attach to it right there, or like, I don't know, however it goes on there, it attaches to it, and then there's enough slot for these, because see, this bracket won't even fit on here. I mean, this is actually inside of here, but no, we gotta get the right bracket before we do anything. Well, we can get everything cleaned up and stuff ready to go, but I may have to buy a whole nother machine just for that bracket, and at least that way I can figure out how does the switch or the connector attach on here. I mean, I could probably figure it out eventually once I get the right bracket, but it's a lot easier if I have something else I can take a look at. So what I may end up doing is just look and see if I can buy a whole other parts machine that's got a good bracket on it and go from there. So we'll pick up, once I get more parts for this, we'll pick it up again. Alright, so we're back to working on this Model 25 that came in, and to get the bracket I had to order a whole nother unit here because it's the only way I could find the bracket. And the bracket on this one looks to be intact, but I just want to be extremely careful with it. And you know, everything on this one actually looks really good. It's white porcelain enamel. It's got a couple little tiny chips on it, but you know, overall, I mean, it looks really nice. And this one's also got the chrome plate on the front here, which the other one didn't have. So I'm assuming this must have been something that was added later to help protect the enamel from the cup hitting it here or whatever. I don't know. But I think I got this one for a good deal because the plate was missing on the front. They didn't know what model it was, and anybody else looking at it may not know what model it was, so I was able to pick it up for a pretty good deal. I got it plugged in, and we're going to go ahead and see if this thing will even power on, just out of curiosity. I mean, it doesn't matter, we're using parts off it anyways. That's how to do it. It runs, and it sounds like it runs good too. So I am going to go through the parts from the other one side here, and I'm going to start disassembling this so I can get this bracket out of here very, very carefully. I'm assuming if I just unscrew this from here, I can take the head off. It'll be the clips on here holding it, holding the contact on there. Yep, there we go. So we'll get the whole motor assembly off. I'll set that aside. We'll primarily focus on this bracket because if you recall, the other one came in pieces and I wasn't sure how it went together. So now that I'm looking at this, I'll be able to tell a little bit better. And this obviously goes on like that, and the wires look like they come through and they just wrap around these screws on here. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know what was I expecting, but I think something a little bit better of a connection than that. Alright. Yeah, it's still connected to wires. I'm assuming to get this off, I have to take the wires off. See, this is a learning experience too, for all of us. Some of you may already know this. I think it screws all the way out. pull my wires up out of here, because this looks like this has been hogged out in a circle so these wires can tuck right in there. It's interesting the way they did things way back then. Alright, so I'm going to put the screws right back in. Okay. I don't know if you can see in there, but it looks like there's 3 screws. I can take the whole bracket off. Maybe. Yeah, they're really in there. Okay, now they're all loose. Alright, there we have it. Let's see, there's Alright, it's got the 3 screws in the on the lock washer that on the back, and then these 3 screws just hold this metal plate to here, which is, there's the old one. You can see with the busted chunk still on it. Alright, so now we got an idea how that goes together. I think I can take this whole thing and just set this aside. I'm done with that. Now, I'm going to get all the rest of this stuff cleaned out and once again go over and try and figure out what I got to do to rewire this thing.
That's what it feels like when you're broke down. When you're broke down, you can't be fixed. And all the women in the neighborhood, they say you're damaged. They say they go damaged. There goes damaged goods. Carmelita, are you leaving me too? I come home after a long, long day to find another big yellow truck driving away. But that's what it feels like when you're broke down. Well, when you're broke down, you can't be fixed. And all the women in the neighborhood, they say you're damaged. They say they go damaged. There goes damaged goods. Those old women, you say, what do they know? You think you're in love 'cause you couldn't keep your hands off of me at the dog show. But to be honest with you, if I could, I'd leave me too. 'Cause that's what it feels like when you're broke down. When you're broke down, you cannot be fixed. And all the women in the neighborhood, they say you're damaged. They say there goes damage. There goes damage too. Tradewinds are calling. Calling to me, come back to the sea. And I know I'll go. The question is when. Trade winds are blowing, going somewhere where no one has a care. And I know I'll go. The question is when.
Alright, this Model 25 is a wrap. Did have some issues. I got it back together and it vibrated extremely bad. So I went through, tried swapping out this part, the shaft, armature, different combinations of parts on here, and still vibrated extremely bad. So I was, I wasn't quite sure what to do at that point. So I did, taking it apart again and looking through it, I noticed there was a little bit of play between the shaft and the bushing on it. So out of the parts one, I checked that and there was no play. So I put the bushing from the parts machine in here as well, and now there's no play. And I mean, this thing vibrated, where it was extremely loud. It vibrated everything on the counter here. But now that we got done, we got to go through and we got to test it out. And there's only one good way to test it out, and that's to make something with it. So I've got one of my cups here, and the only thing I got to make really is chocolate milk. So I'm going to throw some chocolate powder in here, a little bit extra because chocolate's good. Throw some sugar in it. There's a secret recipe here. But anyways, let's see what this thing will do. You can see the vibration is completely gone. And the other thing you can tell is as it aerates this and this gets lighter and it rises, you can hear the RPM increase on that. So now I've just got some hot water in here. I'm just going to wash it off with. This is his cup, which is an original Hamilton Beach cup. which I'm pretty sure is original to this machine, which is really cool. But anyways, we're going to get this wiped down one more time. I see I still got a few greasy fingerprints on here to get off, and we're going to have to get this back. And this thing has not been used since 1972, so it's going to be great to get this back, and he'll be able to use it again after all these years. Like I said, this was his grandfather's. His grandparents owned a cafe, and his grandfather ended up with this, and he inherited it from his grandfather. So it makes it even cooler. And like I said, the thing is in incredible shape. I mean, there's some pitting, and there's some corrosion on the chrome. We cleaned it up as best as we could. The only way to really clean that up is to make that look like new would be to send it out to get chrome plated, and it's getting really hard to even find places to do that anymore with the all the regulations and everything for the chemicals that are used. So that's about the only alternative. There's spray on chromes, and I haven't really seen one that I've been too impressed with. But anyways, if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get back to those as soon as I can. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, let me know that you liked it, and as always, we will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.